How's it going, guys? This week, I want to talk about college. I'm sure for a lot of people out there, their first days of school or days of college started this week, as with mine. And, it's been a crazy year so far. I mean, 2020 as a whole has been pretty crazy. But starting up school, you see a lot of schools are starting up in person, and then literal days later closing because they're getting a bunch of new cases. Many people probably have online classes or in-person classes or mixes of both for some classes. I know I've got a couple in person, and I've got one that's half online, half in person, and then one that's online that meets, but we don't do any of our assignments. Like, we have a bunch of assignments that we have to do outside of class. It's all a big mess. But today, I'm talking about freshman year college. If this is your freshman year of college, I'm sorry for you. This is not a good freshman year. Like, you don't get, maybe if you're living in the dorms, you're probably living by yourself. Everybody's probably one person to a room. You don't really get the good experience of freshman year. And let me share a secret with you. I didn't really either. I kind of wasted my freshman year. My freshman year, I went in, well, I was supposed to have one of my friends from high school be my roommates, which did not end up happening. He came down to this school during the summer before we started freshman year, and he made a bunch of friends, and he decided that he wanted to live with one of those friends, which was annoying to me, but it was probably for the better in the long term, seeing how things have panned out over my 4 years of being in college, or I guess 3 years since this is my fourth. But I was supposed to come down and live with a friend, and that didn't happen. Last minute he changed, and I got a random roommate. And my first experience with my roommate was walking in on move-in day to catch him masturbating. So if that says anything about how my relationship with my roommate freshman year was, it wasn't good. That was a pretty rough start to my freshman year, and honestly, it didn't get too much better. Everyone on my hall in the dorms that I lived in didn't really keep their doors open, and I just didn't really know how to make friends that well. I wasn't good at talking to people. I was very antisocial and just a really big introvert. I played a lot of Xbox, and that's about it. And it was difficult leaving my hometown and leaving all my high school friends behind. There's some that I still talk to today, and they're some of my best friends. But there are some people that I literally haven't talked to since high school. And it's just something you gotta live with when you go off to college. It kind of sucks, but you realize that it doesn't really matter, and you don't really care about those people that much. So for me, it was really rough, especially coming from high school. I had a lot of friends. I was in the band program, made a lot of friends just because you spend a lot of time with a lot of people at practices. So you get to know everyone, you become good friends. You make a small group of like really good friends, and then it just seems like everyone else you're friends with just because you spend so much time with them. So coming to college, I didn't have any friends. My brother was coming to the school at the time, but he doesn't want to hang out with me. I'm his freshman little brother. So I had a hard time making friends, and I was lucky enough to make one friend across the hall. And it was actually, I guess he made friends with me. I was sitting in my room one day, being a scared freshman, playing my Xbox, and I left my door open just because I thought, what if someone sees that I'm playing Xbox and wants to talk? And that's actually exactly what happened. The kid that lived right across the hall from me saw that I was playing Xbox and walked in, asked me what kind of games I had, and then asked if we could add each other, and we added each other, and we started hanging out, and that was that. I made my first friend, or I guess he made me a friend. I don't really feel like I did anything to initiate that, and he's actually still one of the best friends that I have right now. We talk, we hang out all the time. We're still both going to the same college. He's a great dude. And at the time when he introduced himself to me, he had another roommate, and he and his roommate were living together. They came from the same high school. They were really good friends. They both had Xboxes, played together, and all this stuff. And I got to know them. I spent a lot of time with them, and they actually became some of my best friends. After the fall semester, one of the kids dropped out to go to community college because he wasn't really enjoying it, wasn't doing too good in his classes. So I moved in, and I became really good friends with this kid across the hall. So it was really nice to have one good friend. Me and my roommate my new roommate, I guess, we became really good friends with the RA. He lived right beside us. He was really chill. He had an Xbox as well. I don't know, or maybe he had a PlayStation. Either way, we talked about video games, talked about memes, all all the kind of stuff that guys do. And that was pretty much it. I had one real friend and one friend, I guess, that was the RA. And I don't know if we went and saw a movie once. It was for Ready Player One. We both read the book and talked about how great it was to each other, and we went and saw the movie together. But I'm not really sure if he was technically allowed to let the kids that he's watching as an RA. I don't know if he was allowed to hang out with them and give them rides to places. So I don't know how much I can really consider. It was a genuine friendship, but I don't know how much of it was really, I couldn't hang out with him whenever, and we couldn't just he couldn't just come over and hang out in our room, that kind of stuff. So I really only truly had one friend freshman year, and I think it was a big wake-up call for who I really was and getting to know myself. Because all these years, I had surrounded myself with a lot of people that thought I was funny and that would laugh at my jokes, and I felt like I just had an endless amount of people that I could hang out with, that I could just talk, that I could just text, and in a moment's notice, go over to their house and hang out. And now I'm here in college, 3 hours away from my hometown, no car, and I've got one friend, and it gave me a lot of time to realize just what kind of a person I was and how bad I was at talking to people and how I need to put myself out there more. And that's one thing I've really learned, is that if you're coming into college and if this is your first year, it may be a little different because of all this online class stuff, but put yourself out there. Especially in online classes, there are going to be a lot of times where you're sitting there and nobody's talking. Nobody's answering the teacher. I just got out of one 30 minutes ago. It was an hour 15 long class, and I would say at least 20 minutes of it was just us sitting there in silence because nobody wanted to answer. If you're coming into college and you're having trouble making friends, my biggest tip of advice would be put yourself out there. Even if it's not comfortable, put yourself out there, answer questions in class, talk to your group mates, talk to people sitting around you if you have in-person classes. Nobody's gonna look at you weird. Nobody's gonna think, oh, that's the kid that keeps answering all the questions. Nobody's gonna think bad of you. Every time I'm in a class with one kid or two kids that answer everything, I always think about I don't think they're cool, but I just admire their ability to put themselves out there and always answer questions, even if it's the most blatantly obvious answer and nobody just wants to speak up. It's always the people that put themselves out there that everyone wants to be in a group with. So do yourself a favor and do that. You don't have to do it in every class, but try your hardest to do it because it will help a lot. Also, get involved. That's one thing I didn't do. I told you I was in band in high school, did it all 4 years. I even did band for 3 years in middle school. It was a fun time, but it was a large time commitment. And coming into college, I decided that I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't do band, and I really enjoyed the free time that I had, but it really made it difficult for me to make friends because I wasn't just thrown into a big group of people that I had to meet and had to get to know because we'd spend so much time together. It really sucked, and it was tough making friends, especially since the hallway that I lived on, nobody left their door open or hung out or anything. And then the hallway right beside me, kids would leave their doors open, and this was like right when Fortnite was huge. They would leave their doors open playing Fortnite together on PlayStation. They didn't have mics or something, so they just literally yell across the hallway to each other. It was wild, and I just wish that our hallway would do the same kind of thing. So put yourself out there. Try to join a club or something. It's probably rough if it's online classes, but just do anything you can to try to meet people because it'll make your experience way better. My sophomore year in college, I lived in the dorms again because it was just me and my one friend, and I didn't really have a job. He didn't really have a job. We couldn't pay for rent, so we lived in the dorms, and we happened to live on a floor where people, introduced themselves to each other and left their doors open. I remember one of the first nights I was there, the kid that lived right across the hall from me came and knocked on our door. I hopped out of bed, opened it up, and he stuck out his hand, said, "My name's John. I live right across the hall from you." And we went down the hall, just knocking on everyone's door, introducing ourselves, and we formed like a really good group of friends. Some that I don't talk to really anymore. I wish I did talk to them, but some that I even live with right now in my current apartment. So it's worth it to get to know everyone, put yourself out there. You're not going to look like an idiot. And if you do, so what? You're some thought in some guy's head for 1 minute, or if even 1 minute. Probably you'll knock on his door, maybe make a fool of yourself, you'll walk away. He'll turn to his roommate and say, "Did you see that dumb kid?" And then they'll forget about it. You're a thought that's there for a second and then poof, gone. Anyways, that's enough rambling. I just wanted to say this because I know, especially with COVID and all this weirdness going on with college, it may be hard for people to make friends. And I don't want people to live the same experience that I did. Even though I feel like it was really, helpful and beneficial to me, I think everything could have been expedited by a year if instead of having a sophomore year where I made a bunch of friends, I would have had a freshman year where I made a bunch of friends. Anyways, I hope everybody's doing good. If you are a freshman in college, I hope this video finds you and helps you out. But that's all I got. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you later.